Hello, everybody. Pardon me, I'm half prepared today instead of being totally prepared. So, today, as part of my Pitch Me Your Book event that went on in May, I'm doing a quick review of the book Requiem of Old Glory, Chronicles of Old Glory, Book One. It's one of the books that I picked based on the pitch that was made to me during my X Thread event, among many others, which I will be getting into as soon as I get them finished. Some of these books are pretty thick, so it's taken a little bit of time. Um, but let's talk about Requiem of Old Glory here, real quick. The difficult part of doing zombies infected any type of existential horror in literature is that you have to be at least competent, if not a master, of tension. Tension is extremely important when it comes to these sorts of stories. And the reason I bring this up is because in order to create the proper amount of tension, you need mystery. Now, this book, while it was good for many reasons, particularly in the characters, it's extremely exposition heavy. Everything is being explained at all times, and it feels a lot less like a, gripping the arm of your chair type of story, and more like a guided tour through a haunted house. Now, think about what I said, a guided tour through a haunted house. Best part about being in a haunted house is not knowing what's coming. But with Requiem of Old Glory, there was so much detail and description and exposition involved in the narrative that your hand was held the entire time. And it was almost like the author was sort of telling you what was coming. It takes away from some of the suspense. It takes away from some of the jump scare. It takes away from the tension. Mystery is extremely important when it comes to these things. Leaving mystery, to be specific. At the same time, it was an incredibly well detailed world, obviously modeled after our world. Took some stabs at some cultural references that I found very interesting, and the characters were the best part. That's what made you engage with the story in the first place. You're following along with these people, some of them not your average everyday people, some of them were, and they felt realistic, which is excellent. When you put them in situations where you're explaining every step that they take to the reader, it loses some of its magic, especially in the horror side of what's coming. The going down the hallway, turning the corner, and the description of what's in front of you is read more like a manual than it is a perception from the character. And that's where the real magic happens in these types of stories. When you're able to imagine, you're looking through the eyes of this character that you become so engrossed in, and you're seeing what they're seeing. That's where the creep factor is. It's where the fear hides. And in some more gruesome cases, as is generally common with zombie infected horde situations, the gore. without being able to really visualize and capture what the character is seeing versus explaining to the reader what the character is seeing. The magnificence of those moments of utter terror, where the brain can't comprehend what it's seeing because it's just so awful. It's missing. On the whole, Requiem of Old Glory is a well thought out story that meanders so much that the very explosive ending, like the very intense ending, loses some of its value, which is another really important aspect for authors. You don't want to bury the lead so much. You want your readers to experience in such a vivid capacity that when they get to the payoff, that payoff is catharsis. It makes them sit back and go, oh, damn. I suspect that this could have been a shorter book. And I think that with some deep diving into where the fat could be cut away, this would be a lean, mean zombie book machine. So I recommend you read it. Understand that unless you're very impressionable, it's not going to scare you, but it will engage you. That much I can guarantee. Other minor aspects that I found a little bit difficult were the transition between certain characters. But at the same time, the more I've been thinking about it after putting it down, the more realistic it feels. Like, I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody that wants to read it, but there are character deaths. Zombies, they eat people. I mean, infected zombies, whatever you want to call them, they eat people. So characters that you connect with do end up, devoured, and to put it as simply as possible. And the transition on immediately afterwards is so stark that while I was reading it, it threw me off, but afterwards it was kind of like a little ticking time bomb in my head that went, yeah, okay, that's real life. Unfortunately, people die and we move on, and sometimes we never know what happened to them. There is a transition in the plot that I found very jarring. I use that word a lot because it's literally how it feels. It makes my brain, flop on its side and kind of, curl up. But after getting over it and really getting into the change in the plot direction, it wasn't that big of a deal. Just something to be aware of. So if you like zombie horde style stories and great characterizations, check out Requiem of Old Glory. I think you'll enjoy it. And I will be back as soon as I finish the next one. Take care.